I'd like to call the Delaware County Commissioners meeting in order. It is Monday, April 2nd, 2018. Time is 9 a.m. Everybody can stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Charlie, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry? Here. Ms. Reagan?
Present.
Mr. King?
Here. Have no public hearing, no appointments. Move on to table of business. Chair, I believe you're working with Yorktown to find somebody for that board. John, have you have anything on the Medicaid for the inmates?
I'm still working on it. I've had a couple of things that have distracted me, but I'm going to try and get it done for next meeting, hopefully.
Okay. Then we have the parcel 180323289009-000 for Michael Hines.
Mr. Hines had contacted both Jenny and myself about, in an email about his interest, but he hasn't been following the procedure set forth in the statute, submitting a bid for it, which is what we requested that he do. So I don't know what to say other than the time has passed. You can make a decision, or you can just let it sit there, however you want to do it.
I'd go ahead and leave it all tabled.
I'm good.
Okay. We'll invite him again to the meeting, so.
Okay. We'll move to approval of the minutes for March 19th.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for approval. Charlie, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry?
Yes.
Ms. Reagan?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Next, we have the presentation to commissioners. Jennifer Wilson, Delaware County Regional Wastewater Rates Report.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Wilson with Pro Horwa, and we've prepared a report due to our engagement to evaluate the Delaware County Regional Wastewater District Rate Report of April 26, 2017. In our report, we evaluated the rates and charges that were recommended in that 2017 rate study, and which was provided in 2 scenarios. And we also analyzed the reasons for the higher rate that is charged to the Roriton area. In the 2017 rate study that you have in front of you, which we have attached the rate consultants, their report as attachment 1, they evaluated 2 scenarios. They had the first scenario where they showed the current debt service, and in their second scenario, they showed the payoff of the 2012 bond on January 1st of 2019. In their 2017 rate study, they detailed out the operating disbursements and showed how they allocated them across the 3 areas of Daleville, Westbrook, and the Roriton area. And Roriton is actually 2 areas together, the DeSoto and the Roriton area. They also allocated the other revenue requirements of debt service and extensions and replacements, which is calculated using either coverage or depreciation. In their report, in summary, the first scenario resulted in a rate increase of 1.4% for the Roriton area and the Westbrook area. In their second scenario, they did not recommend a rate increase because of the elimination of the 2012 debt. If you would like to turn to page 3, I'd like to run through some of the significant items with their debt scenarios, or with their rate scenarios. So you can see at the top, the pro forma operation and maintenance expenses were allocated to the different areas of Daleville, Westbrook, and Roriton. And then the second line is another revenue requirement of debt service, and it was allocated based upon which service area had received that benefit of the projects that had occurred. The 2012 B debt is what's shown there under Westbrook, and the 2012A and the 2009 debt is shown under Roriton. The next line item is a reallocation of the Delaware County edit pledge. The effect of this allocation is to move expenses of $25,000 to Daleville and $25,000 to the Westbrook area from the Roriton area. Depreciation coverage is to pay for ongoing extensions and replacements. The way that this adjustment or this allocation was calculated was two different methodologies. For the Westbrook and the Daleville area, it was based upon a 2004 analysis based on depreciation upon the assets of the utility at that time. The Roriton area was calculated by taking the coverage amount that's required and subtracting out what was being donated or contributed by the two other areas. These revenue requirements are then reduced by the operating receipts. The one thing I want to point out in the operating receipts is that Daleville contributes $113,000 each year from their TIF revenues, and that's to pay for the debt service portion of their contract. In the end, the additional receipts required was $42,400. But you can see in the Daleville area, they actually had contributed excess receipts of about $104,000. And Westbrook required $52,000 and Roriton required $94,000. The next line readjusted that by taking the additional receipts from the Daleville area and reallocating them to the Roriton and the Westbrook area, resulting in a 1.4% rate increase required for Westbrook and Roriton. So that was the summary of the first scenario. The second scenario is I summarized on the next page, on page 4. The difference between the prior scenario and this scenario is that the 2012 debt that had been allocated to Westbrook is no longer outstanding as of January 1st, 2019. So the overall revenue requirements came to that there was no additional revenues required. Again, Daleville did have excess receipts of $104,000, and they reallocated that amount of the excess receipts to the other two areas. On the next page, I show what would happen if you eliminated the two adjustments of reallocating the edit, where they reallocated $50,000 of the expenses to the two other areas, eliminated that amount, and also eliminated the reallocation of the excess revenues from the Daleville area to the other two areas. That would result in a rate decrease for Daleville of 21.6%, or $10.15. Westbrook would see a rate decrease of $2.25, and Roriton would require a rate increase. The Roriton area would require a $6 increase, and the DeSoto area would require a $5.19 increase. So the Roriton area does have higher rates as compared to the other two areas. And that is mostly due to Roriton having their flow being treated by Muncie Sanitary District, and the rate for that was in 2016 was $4.54 per 100 cubic feet. In 2017, it had increased 18% to $5.37. And this year in 2018, it increased another 2% to $5.48. And their ordinance also shows additional rate increases for the next 2 years of 2% in 2019 and 2% in 2020. When you compare that to the other two districts, or other two service areas, Westbrook, they're served by the town of Yorktown, and their rate is $1.32 per 100 cubic feet. So that's quite a disparity. That's about 300% lower than what's being charged by the other area. And the town of Daleville is served by the town of Chesterton, and their rate is just under $1 at 98 cents and a half. So there's quite a disparity about what the flow charge is being for the services providing the service, and that has the explanation of why the area of Roriton has a higher rate that they're being charged. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point in time.
So Muncie Sanitary District is charging 300 to 400% higher.
Correct.
This was, your appointment on one of your appointments on the Regional Wastewater Board. This was an important study for lots of different reasons. Number one, even though it was represented in this meeting back in January, when the appeal hearing happened, that all the three areas are standalone, that they all pave their own way, this report clearly shows that that wasn't the case. The former executive director used to said to this body that every area stood on their own, and it clearly doesn't. That Delville and Westbrook are adding to the cost for Rorton. The other important part is that Muncie, the Muncie Sanitary District, has a significant rate increase, and that the people in Rorton and DeSoto are paying for whatever these projects are that are going on in the Muncie Sanitary District significantly, 300 to 400 times the cost. I mean, Rorton is paying, since we have a flow meter, Rorton is paying for every gallon of water that goes through and is being treated by Muncie. It's not that that Rorton or DeSoto is adding to their infiltration problem at all. They're paying for it, and they're paying over $1.2 million a year now. That, and combined with Liberty, is another $1 million. And they're being charged the same amount as the Delaware County Regional Wastewater District, $5.48 per 1,000 cubic feet, which is not anywhere near. It's significantly greater than what it costs to treat the waste. I know it took a long time to get this. There was a lot of information that wasn't available in the district right away. So, with the permission, we have a meeting, regional wastewater meeting on the 4th on Wednesday. I'd like to share this with the board there as well.
I'd like for you to share it with them.
The next step for the commissioners would be to take a look at the report, and then you'll have to make a decision as to whether the rate increase that was sustained by the Regional Wastewater District was just and equitable under the statute. And I would suggest that you consider that maybe at the next meeting.
I agree.
Sad to hear the bad news, but glad we did it. And John, appreciate your work on this, getting this done.
Do I have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have James Carmichael, PSC Associates proposal.
Good morning, James Carmichael, County Assessor. You don't get to see me a whole lot because we work our contracts in 4-year cycles, so that's what this contract is for a 4-year cycle. It is state mandated. It was bid in accordance to Indiana code. There were 2 inquiries, one by PSC Associates, another by Tyler Technologies. PSC was the only bid. I sent out documentation for the processes to the county attorney. The contract contains several services that we do during this cycle, which is cyclical reassessment, which is assessment of 15,000 properties per year over a 4-year period, annual adjustment of property, and general maintenance and new construction. So if you read down through there, if you had a chance to look at it, some of it repeats itself a little bit. This is what they call a form contract. It is made by the DLGF. Every contractor has to use this contract. It's basically their format, and we fill in the blanks. I can tell you that during the last reassessment cycle, which ended January 31st of 2017, PSC, which was the previous contractor, had 48 on-time reports to the DLGF and finished the whole project on time. So everything went very well.
I looked at the contract, I looked at the format. I mean, having represented other assessors in the past, the DLGF dictates the terms of the contract. You can't even deviate from them. And so I'd recommend that you approve the contract. They don't like that kind of thinking, so.
They're all for local control, but we don't have any, so.
Were you surprised that James, were you surprised that Tyler didn't put it in a bid?
Not really, and when you get into these larger counties like Delaware County, it can be any other large county. Contractors is very difficult to move into a county this size. The cost will soar because they have to come in, they have to get settled in, they have to get a new space. This contractor did bid on this the last reassessment cycle, and I believe the bid was over $2 million. I think it was $2.1 million.
They're not as big as, been around as long as PSC.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with PSC Associates.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Charlotte, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes. Thanks, James. Next, we have Bridge 204 replacement agreement. Angie?
Morning, Commissioners. I emailed you a bid tabulation sheet last week. We reviewed all the bids along with our engineer, and we both recommend to award to the lowest bidder, which is Hoosier Pride Excavating. This project also, just a reminder, we received $125,000 from the Community Crossing Grant to the state.
How long do you think the road or the bridge will be closed or under construction?
We haven't set a schedule yet until we award it and have a pre-con meeting, but I'm anticipating about 5 months.
We have good weather. I move we approve the agreement with
Hoosier
Hoosier
Pride.
Pride Excavating.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Charlotte?
Actually, the motion should be to accept the bid of Hoosier
I'm
Pride.
sorry, I accept the bid.
It'll be a separate contract.
Yeah, good point.
Charlotte, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes. Next, we'll move to department heads and elected officials.
Commissioners, I provided a copy of an extension agreement for the, between Delaware County and the United Auto Workers for an extension of the contract with the three locals, the sheriff's merit deputies, the jailers, and the 911. We have concluded the negotiations. We're working on finalizing the contract, but we need to extend the contract until the 16th of April. The union has a ratification vote on the 9th, and then it'll come up for your consideration on the 16th. So I would ask that you sign the extension agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the extension agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Charlotte, can you call the roll?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Rogers?
Good morning, Jason Rogers, Emergency Management Director. I have before you a project that we've been working on with Gov Deals about an auction site for government surplus for us to get rid of some of the things that we have an inventory that we don't need. The first 4 items, we've been working with their staff about getting a few items listed. Been on the phone with them. I know Commissioner Riggins talked to them as well, but that's the first list of items that we're going to declare a surplus. I talked with the Highway Department. They're starting to compile their list. It's actually a little bit of a bigger project to actually go through all of your equipment, find stuff that you don't need, see if it has any value yet. So it's taken a little bit longer to get this project going. But those are the first 4 items that I ask that you vote to declare those surplus. If you have any questions, I can entertain those. And then we'll get those up on the site in the next probably week or so.
Appreciate Jason kind of helping us get this underway since he's kind of a techie guy.
I'll make a motion we approve the surplus equipment. Let Jason sell it.
Second.
Motion and a second. Charlotte, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
What I'll probably do is, as obviously we'll have a lot larger list, and we'll just bring those before you as those things come. Anything of any question or whatnot, we'll get with you before it comes before you. But all this stuff is stuff that we've had for a while, and we know that it's ready to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Have anything else under department heads and elected officials?
The commissioners had previously approved a moratorium on permits for the confined animal feeding operation. They received their license or permit from IDEM from the last meeting. And I presented to the commissioners some alternatives for zoning regulations. So it'd be up to the commissioners to decide what they want to do with the permits and how you want to handle that from this point. You asked me for some suggestions on changing the zoning ordinance. I took some information from MARTA modified it somewhat, sent it to you guys. Albeit it was last night, but for your consideration and review, so that you can make a decision on that.
The regulations that will pertain to the current applicant in question, those will refer back to our current planning and zoning requirements, correct?
Yes, they already have their ident permit.
So more or less, they will be grandfathered in.
Yes.
So whatever we go from this point forward, they will not really have to abide by.
They won't, but the future ones will. Once the Plan Commission has a public hearing and then you guys make the final decision. And some of the regulations or some of the things that were put into that are setbacks from existing confined animal feeding operations. So it will have an impact on future operations.
This has been a troubling issue, I think, and of course, the residents of Delaware County have been upset about this issue, and I understand it. However, we did have a CAFO apply, I believe it was last year, and we didn't hear one single complaint about that particular permit that the barns were built and it's in operation now. With this one we did. You know, I've been here for a little over 3 years, and this is the first time any of this has ever come up in my time. So I want to work on new regulations. However, I do not want to get in some type of legal action over the current permittee. It's already been approved by IDEM. So I would like to see us go ahead and release the permits.
And for the record, I have talked with the attorney and they have threatened legal action. So
I don't want to get into that.
No, we can't.
I'll make a motion in a second.
I make a motion, we release the permits.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Charlie, can you call the roll?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Have anything else under department heads and elected officials?
Well, we talked about, going back to the contract, we talked about the previous bid of $2.1 million for Tyler Technologies. The actual executed cost of this one's 1.1 or 1.512.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody received the report from Weights and Measures. Next, we'll move to payment of claims in the amount of $1,324,104.21.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Charlie, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Move to questions, public comments. We will, after our last meeting, if you have a comment, we'll give you 3 minutes to give it. If so, anybody want to step up to the podium, more than welcome.
Morning, Commissioners. Perry Evans, 1270 North, Delaware County. Steve, I understand that you don't want to get into legal action. I don't know what kind of legal action or cost that would be. Is there even a close number on that compared to the roads? And I mean, you didn't hear anything before about these before, but obviously.
Sir, I need everyone that speaks to sign in on the sign-in sheet, please,
Okay.
and print your name also. Thank you.
But I don't know if they came up with a guesstimate or whether when you say you don't want to get into legal action. It's still tough for me to swallow. I want to be 1,000 feet from this barn door to my front door. Obviously, this is going to change my life for somebody that doesn't live in this community. And I just don't know what, just seems like we would step up to bat for the Delaware County. Nobody wants to get in a legal battle. Is there a guesstimate as far as the cost of something like that?
Well, before we get into that, Commissioners, we did provide a copy of the IDEM approval because we were on the list of, from IDEM as the approval. We did provide a list or a copy of the approval to people that signed the petition. So everybody, there is legal action or an appeal action that could be taken by any of those affected homeowners with IDEM. You have, I think, 18 days from the date
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we have it, we do have a legal representation, I mean, we're gonna post it. But, all right, well, just checking, just seems like, because of the roads and the cost and everything, it's just looking at the
Well,
entire picture.
we do owe you some good roads, because I did finally get up there last week to check it out, and those roads are narrow, and they are gonna be built.
Well, with
be
the
built
trouble
up.
they had with the, last time, they just repaired all the roads out there, and obviously it didn't
Yeah.
really work out, so it's gonna be, there's gonna be some expense.
Yes, and you do deserve some good roads. I'd like to see the street sweeper up there. I know she had a lot of sand on the
Well,
road.
the roads are kind of, after they chip sealed last time, they just kind of, they fought it for almost a year trying to save the road, and obviously it's not gonna hold up to the equipment. All right, thank you,
But,
Commissioners.
Mr. Evans, I am ashamed, not ashamed, but I'm not proud that when we had a chance to redo this in 2007, 2009, that
It is.
the Plan Commission let us down then.
I have been told that we were called the most beautiful place in northern Delaware County, and
Yeah.
now it'll be known as Camp Dead.
Yeah. No comment.
Anyone else? Entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Go on recess.